is way too much damage. Stop him with the block! He found Churchill!
Oh, and he found
wow.
Wow.
Oh, what?
He gets out!
Somewhere there's a covert muffin just applauding this scene.
Holy crap.
Oh man, this is gonna come down to execution in the final escape, isn't it?
Sure is.
Every scene
Our
does.
favorite phrase.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is for you in the world. The one thing that it's definitely time for is Ori and the Blind Forest Definitive Edition Randomizer Tournament action. My name is Shafe, joined alongside a commentary by Zemsis. We've got two pretty good runners here for you today. We've got Liftoff and siriusashling. They're going to be competing to increase their standings in the preliminary brackets here. We've got most runners have completed all of their qualifying matches, just got a few left to wrap them all up, and we're fast approaching the actual bracket stage, which will be starting next week. We've got today, tomorrow, and the weekend. That's it. So if you need to get your preliminaries in, now is definitely the time. Had an opportunity to talk to the runners before the broadcast. Liftoff, pretty new to Rando, played the game casually just after Definitive Edition came out. Only started playing the Rando itself in late 2020. Hasn't done any speedruns at all, but is very comfortable with the Rando and feels that their execution is worse than players, but is pretty good at routing and knowledgeable about Rando in particular. Doesn't really enjoy bash grenades, so would like double jump, obviously a skill that augments a bunch of other skills quite well. Does enjoy dash, but feels it gives him a bit of a execution disadvantage. In general, goal is top 10 in the prelims. Feels though it might be tough. Definitely wants to improve to a 4.0 or better points in the preliminary standings, and has an opportunity to do that here today against about 17 other runners, Zemsis, including his opponent, Sirius.
Yes, so Sirius, a very experienced Will of the Wisp runner, kinda less experienced in Blind Forest Rando, and has this more chaotic, unconventional style, going very heavily into Purple from time to time, willing to bust out some extremely difficult Plando strats and so on. Both of our runners actually have played some of those Hell Planners, those extremely difficult handcrafted randomizer seed designed to really bring your routing, your trick execution to its limit. So we have a very nice matchup there. And interestingly enough, Sirius 2 thinks that he gets disadvantaged on those jet seeds, those dash seeds. Wasn't expecting to do this well in the tournament, but he has already won 3 of the preliminaries he participated in, so he is definitely on a very good route for a very high place finish here. So I'm excited to see what this match has in store for us.
Yeah, and as you alluded to, both of the runners do have similar playstyles, in part because of those Hell Plandos that they've been playing, where you do have to perform some really obnoxious tricks to be able to move around. So the one thing that we could possibly see from both of these runners, Zem, is a very low skill progression towards the final escape, and possibly a minimal escape, minimal resources as well. They're both very capable of it. We'll go ahead and we'll give the runners about a 1-minute warning or so. And just want to give you a little bit of a update on how the preliminary here works. We've got 5 races that each of the runners need to participate in. They can compete more if they want to try and improve their standing. Only their top 5 finishes are going to be taken into consideration. Sirius currently is sitting in 4th place with 4.68 points out of a possible 5. Liftoff is currently down at 15th place with 3.89, but does feel as though he can improve and hasn't quite been playing up to his potential. Also, we've got another match here for you tomorrow on SpeedGaming. It is going to be at 9 o'clock Eastern, J-Mall versus Trojan Dude, and we're going to have Cleanfill and Gramelios on commentary for that. It's going to be very exciting, and we're also going to have another 3 matches over the course of Saturday and another 3 on Sunday. Still solidifying those times, but looks like they're going to be at about noon Eastern, 2 and 6 Eastern on both Saturday and Sunday. So Zem, what do you want to see these runners get here in the early going to try and maybe showcase some of those advanced strats that we were talking about?
So I think we've had enough bash grenade for this tournament since we had one whole bash grenade seed so far. On the other hand, we had a lot of those chart jump starts, right, which allow a lot of access to early verticality. Um, those have not the most hardest of strategies to get around in most places. So I would say, what about a more classic start? Let's get wall jump, double jump, stomp, and a blue breakage skill for the early game and see what our runners can do with that.
Yeah, there's a lot of stomp lures that they can do to access pickups that you wouldn't normally expect them to be able to grab, including one in Valley, a couple in Grotto as well. So plenty of opportunities to do some extra things with Stone. Just resources here in the early going, Keystone, and the Vanilla Energy Cell, which we give everybody because not being able to save is awful. And Liftoff's going to have just a little bit of an advantage here heading to Sign, and Wall Jump is going to be our first skill, so pretty vanilla, and there's an early decision here to be made with that Keystone. You might see both runners head towards Blades to see if they can get a second Keystone. Might also see them head into Blackroot and maybe try and get a skill advantage over there. Alt-R is something that we have put into the randomizer to return to start keybind just to prevent soft locks and also to make things go a little bit faster.
Yes, and we have none of our runners seen take the Rhino EXP from the first breaking wall there. So that kind of forces them to go early into these two pickups for maybe left side because they do not have an easy way of getting enough experience for a level up before they can turn to Blackroot, which is very important that you do have one ability cell before you head there. Finding two more keystones here, so there is in fact a possible progression here. Finding the water vein underwater, so both of our runners deciding to not go for a second attempt at fake flippers and keep the water vein, but they do know where that dungeon key is and they do know it's locked by clean water.
Yeah, and the expectation, I think, here from both of them is they're going to find clean water relatively early in the seed and be able to come back to that. They may also just want to come back with a little bit more health before Altars and maybe a faster skill to be able to get across that. But having that knowledge here in the early going is very important. They do need the Water Vein and the Sunstone for sure in order to be able to complete the seed. The Water Vein obviously giving access to the Ginzo tree and Sunstone giving access to Mount Horu where the final escape is located. Just want to remind you of the format that we're playing on here today. We are playing on Force Trees and Clues. Force Trees meaning that we have to go visit all the 10 vanilla skill tree locations in the game, and Clues meaning that we're going to get clues to the dungeon keys every third tree or so. Obviously, don't need to worry about getting the Water Vein clue because we already have that. Liftoff on the left side decided to pull the rock. I believe we saw Baby Iceless there from Sirius, giving him a little bit of an advantage in there. Of course, is the clean water as we expected, putting that Water Vein into logic.
Yes, so definitely paying off to not go for the fake flippers and earlier. There's a bit of spaghetti on the power skip, but gets through, no problem. So having if they alt earlier, that would have cost them 30 seconds. Now it's a 3 times save with having found that clean water. And Sirius opening his first save anywhere on the right. So by using this trick, you can trick the game into thinking you closed the ability menu, but you actually didn't. So you can skill an ability, save, start the tree cutscene, reload, and now Sirius can do blind movement while this tree cutscene plays. Get the pickup to the left, use Alt-R to return to spawn, and start walking to the left, saving him a bit of time that he doesn't spend watching that cutscene.
Yeah, and you're going to see the save anywhere trick quite a few times throughout the course of this run, predominantly used to skip cutscenes, but also has a few other applications that we'll talk about if they do come up. Another save anywhere here, get the level up off of the branches, expect to see that from Liftoff as well, skipping the cutscene trigger here, entering into Blackroot. They did have an option with 5 keystones if they wanted to head towards Spirit Caverns, but both of the runners kind of want to get this area out of the way right now. This does have another skill tree location. Both of the runners have one of them at the wall jump tree, Dash being the second one that they're going to acquire here, and this kind of makes it a little bit of nice routing. Go and get your third tree at Sea Flame, as you sort of predict at this point that you're probably going to have to end up going through Spirit Caverns anyway, with only wall jump and clean water so far. No other skills. Do expect maybe to see another one here in Blackroot. Some dangerous jumping by both of the runners. Nice setup there from Sirius to get the orb drop right on the edge of the platform. It's another keystone behind the light door.
Yes, and Blackroot is basically a sequence of auto-scrollers. There are a few skill sets that can skip 1 or 2 of them, but generally, no matter when you come here, it's gonna take about the same time, say for, let's say, about a minute or so. So, since you can put since this area gets so early into logic, and putting it off can really hurt you if you find out late that there was a skill in here, a lot of runners are gonna go here early, and both of our runners have in this case decided to get Blackroot out of the way.
Yep, again, just on this little auto scroller, gotta hold the orb to light up the platforms, make them able to be walked on. Gonna light up this lantern to open up the dash room itself, and then jump over to the left here to check this experience. Sirius is going to be the first one to it. We'll see if it's anything. It is just experience, dropping back down, trying to hit this cycle on the way through as this platform is coming down. The orb will spawn right as the platform touches the ground. Good timing there, and execution by Sirius. We'll see if Liftoff gets it now on the left side of your screen. Gets that 29 experience pickup. Lands at the platform, gets a little bit slow on the spawn there from the orb, but his movement was clean enough that it didn't matter. He was able to ride the platform cycle just in time. Sirius now lifting the pedestal to light the darkness in Blackroot Burrows. Is going to perform another save anywhere here and actually stack 2 of these cutscenes together while checking a pickup behind the Mapstone Crushers.
Yes, so eyes on the right, Sirius starting the cutscene for the stage here, and will now race, doing some kind of tricky movement, baiting out the crushers and then going on the top of them. If you mess up the movement, you will get crashed while above, but Sirius, having no problems with this, will arrive just in time for the ground to open and the second cutscene to start, which stacks the 3 cutscene on top of it, and now he can do another instance of blind movement. Very nice. We see the same on the left from Liftoff. Good start to the run.
First check from Sirius on this pickup in the Blackroot main room is an energy cell. He is going to opt to actually scum it for now. Takes a death and wants to check the Indiana Jones pickups here. Is going to glitch this lever so that you don't have to worry about your speed as you go through here. Basically, the way that you do that is you just hold the lever and then do a rekindle save, very similar to how the save anywhere save functions in terms of being able to skip cutscenes. It's just that sometimes we don't have the ability to walk into the cutscenes with a soul link close enough by. Route divergence here is going to pay off for Sirius. Right side of the screen, he picks up Grenade, gets blue break access on the way through Boulder Escape. He's going to actually try with just wall jump to climb over the boulder. Does so successfully. Did not want to spend the point there. And another sequence of climbing over top of the Crushers. These pickups now are out of logic. Wants to keep this Frankie alive, because if it dies, it will not respawn. And sometimes you will use that later in the game to gain access to the grenade tree later on via a sequence break. Second pickup is just 13 experience.
Yes, and this find right here, the grenade, is absolutely huge. Sirius now knows the entire right side of the map is accessible. He has the keystones to go through Spirit Caverns, he has wall jump and a way to break through walls, so that's the entire right side open. Meanwhile, Liftoff is starting to go to his charge frame tree, might even opt to skip the teleporter at the top, which will not activate for him, and with this, he might come back to Blackroot very late, but eyes on the right, we see Sirius go back for the energy cell, and his XP value is set up very well if he decides to opt to Secrets Break into Grotto with Bronchi Walk. Let's see if he goes for it.
This is actually very convenient for Liftoff left side at Spirit Caverns. He did pick up the Grove Teleporter as a physical pickup on the map, which is going to allow him to actually skip the Grove Teleporter cutscene and yet still maintain access to that teleporter. Normally, if you skip it, you will basically disable that teleporter until you find the pickup somewhere else on the map. But a very conveniently located Grove Teleporter is going to allow him to use another save anywhere here to skip this cutscene and keep the teleporter and get a couple checks here down at Charge Flame. So eyes on the right, this is very precise here for Sirius. Has a little bit of an advantage with Spirit Magnet, is going to be able to get that XP to float towards him, but does successfully open the door. Does another Alt-R here with just 3 HP. Probably wants to make sure that he doesn't have to do that again. And he's going to go and head over to the Charge Flame tree. He's going to get a refill there on his energy when he activates it as well. Liftoff, in the meantime, killed the Frank. He was trying to sort of time his shots so that the Frankie would die immediately after breaking the floor and fire just a little bit too quickly, had to get the respawn, is going to perform another save anyway here that actually despawns the wall over to the right side. While in the meantime, Sirius has picked up the water main in clean water and is heading towards... No, he's going straight to Sea Flame. He's not going to get that Grove teleporter.
Yeah, it's good decision here. Honestly, we want those clues as early as possible. And the first clue is actually massive. We know Sunstone is in Grotto, and Sirius probably plans on heading there anyways and can basically clear most of it thanks to him having blue breakage, able to break all those plants in Grotto. So Sirius skipping the entire upper part of Grove there, also going for a blind movement to save some time on the tree cutscene, and is now able. I don't think he has checked the clue yet, so let's see if he remembers that. But Liftoff going back realizes he has exhausted his in-logic options for pickups and is now gonna walk down and get his grenade momentarily.
Alright, now Sirius has decided he wants to go to Spirit Cavern, see if there's any skills there that he missed. We know that he hasn't. The only thing worth mentioning in Spirit Caverns was the Grove teleporter. In the meantime, left side of your screen, Liftoff has some XP management he could do here if he wants to do the same Frankie walk that you saw from Sirius just moments ago. Has to be a little bit careful about his HP values on 2 HP here. These slimes only do 1 damage. Not terribly difficult to avoid, but sometimes it can be tricky. He is going to get his grenade pickup here. Set to save anywhere. And interestingly, Zemsis, we have both runners pushing the purple tree here quite early.
Yes, so I know Sirius in general is a big fan of Purple Tree. So Purple Tree is always a bit of a gamble. It allows you to get a lot more resources early. Ultra Magnet and Spirit Light Efficiency both getting you a lot more XP, which will result in more ability sets. Also has more of those 1-point abilities, since using a save anywhere always costs ability points. Only having to spend 1 point is always nice for that. And the Capstone gives you a bit of a pickup detector for important shakes. However, Blue Tree on the other hand has upgrades to a lot of movement abilities and an upgrade that reduces the damage you take. So there's always a trade-off, always a gamble to be made that won't matter later, and the Purple Tree pays off. For now though, we're getting a lot of early experience, and Sirius using that Frankie walk he did earlier to break right into Grotto, and is probably now gonna dig here for his Sunstone while making his way to, I would assume, Dark Country.
Yeah, so we're going to see Liftoff. The one advantage he sort of does have here, having found Grenade and coming back up through this way, he's already broken the floor that gains access to the Grove teleporter area, so he's not going to have to loop all the way around back through Spirit Caverns. He's just going to have to pull this lever here and traverse topside through Spider Sack area and onward towards Grotto on the right side. As you alluded to, Sense can be sort of a double-edged sword. Yes, it does allow you to gain a little bit more knowledge potentially about where pickups are faster, you know, skills and dungeon keys and that sort of thing. Left side access with some particular teleporters, but if it's a health starred seeded and you're lacking something like Glide heading into Sorrow, it can definitely be a little bit of a problem. This skipping on the cutscene, left side, you see Liftoff has to do a little awkward jump there to get over the teleporter, because it does give you a slow zone. We're going to get the first checks in both sides of the screen in completely different areas. Sirius is in Grotto at the water main location. Liftoff is going to be checking Valley entry.
Yes, and we also saw Sirius glitch out the bridge, getting a nice high boost there. If you mess up that timing, that bridge will stay shut forever. So good job on not doing that. Allows you to get those 2 checks without having any form of verticality or extra air movement. Liftoff finding some energy, meanwhile Sirius dropping further down into Grotto. This is the dent area, and we're gonna see a lot of checks here. And I believe we opts to check the right side pickup first, finds it. To get an energy door, but I think he has something else in mind for that one.
Yeah, he's probably going to do one of your favorite tricks. We do have 3 energy as well on Liftoff side here. Did not opt to go for a relatively slow check at the top of the Valley entry tree experience. There could have been another energy, which may have been intended quick right side access. Could have also been nothing. We're going to see an energy glitch here. on liftoff side. Gets its second try, very nice. If you put an energy into the door, the same frame that you leave the range of Sign being able to access that door, the energy actually gets stuck. So that's going to allow liftoff to go and collect energy from somewhere else, and then basically he's going to have 3 more energy in his pocket, plus the 1 in the door, allowing him to sequence break into that. You see he's picking up the energy crystals here, opening up the grenade locked door. In the meantime, just in case he needs to come back for it later, and it's a 4th energy, which is always a little bit hilarious.
Yeah, but on the right side, Sirius managed to ride the rock downwards, skipping the need for either a safe drop or opening the energy door. That trick is super precise. Congrats to him for getting that second try. Opts to push the rock instead of going for a grenade redirect on the shot. I can't blame him. That grenade redirect is super precise. And ironically, also finds a bunch of energy behind the energy board. So nice sync on both of our runners here.
Alright, so just worth noting, Sirius did pick up the Human Seal, which is the dungeon key for the Forlorn Ruins. As of right now, it's not in launcher, but should they find the Forlorn Teleporter, that is definitely something that we may need to keep an eye on. Liftoff is going to be doing some checks here in what we call Grove Main, which is just to the left of both Swamp and Grotto. This plant is just an experience, and we're going to see a little bit of a sort of like zombie-ish Ori from Sirius. The non-save. Oh, he's not. Oh, he's just going to save anywhere. Okay. You do have some iframes on respawn that you can just use to jump over top of that. You obviously spend the ability point anyway, and just zombie over top of it. But a nice 69 experience from the Map Stone for his trouble. Liftoff in the meantime, taking a little bit of a gamble. This is a bit of a slow check when you don't have Stomp or Climb, Charge, Jump. To check this Horrorfield's health cell, and we'll see if it's worth his time. It is a keystone, and he's going to scum it. So, you want to explain a little bit of how save scumming works in the game?
Yeah, sure. So unlike a lot of other item randomizers, you do not get to keep any items you find on dev or on game reload unless you actually save your game afterwards. So what runners will do if they do have a large linear section and do not like the pickup at the end of it, is place the save as far on the main road as possible, check the pickup, and if it's nothing, they're just gonna either die or reload their game to get back to where they were, and losing the pickup in progress, however.
Alright, so Liftoff has had enough of his checks in the Grove area. He's going to take that 4 energy and chase Sirius into Grotto. So far, we know from Sirius' side of the screen, nothing really of note has been here in Grotto for him, aside from the Human Seal. We do know from the clue earlier that the Sunstone is here as well, making his way to the Double Jump Tree. Plenty of keystones, but otherwise resources a little bit sparse. Particularly noting the health there. Only 5 health, but with clean water certainly should be manageable for the runners, depending on what skill sets they feel comfortable with heading towards the final escape. So we're just going to see a little bit of extra coverage here from Liftoff. We're going to keep an eye on the right side in the meantime to see if we get anything new from the Double Jump Tree on Sirius' side.
This time not opting for that, and that's a skill. I think we just found Bash, and that's huge.
Yeah, that is absolutely gargantuan. To get Bash right now, especially with Grenade, that opens up a whole lot of pickups and a whole lot of movement, a whole lot of verticality and
charge
jump.
jump is right there. Good heads-up play from Sirius to check that, not skip that. And with this, I believe Sirius can now fully clear the grotto area and is definitely able to find his Sunstone. We see him go directly back towards the area, and let's see where that Sunstone is, or if Sirius maybe decides to go to Swamp Tree first.
Yeah, very interesting here that both runners have decided to do this sort of slow check in what we call glide vault. And it's an opportunity here, honestly, for Liftoff to do a little bit of catch-up that he needs to do quite quickly at this point. He's got a pretty major skill deficit with the sheer mobility that Sirius has. He's going to be able to just absolutely demolish pickups in very short order here. As we have mentioned, he is looking for the Sunstone, which he knows here is in Grotto, and has what we would also allude to as, at the very least, Lumberjack mode. Here's Zemsis.
Yes, so Sirius is able to reach every single every single possible key location as well as every single skill tree location with his current skill set if he decides to go for some terrible sorrow past strats later. So Sirius can now, if he wants to, just straight up go for trees, maybe check some extra pickups on the way, get some more resources. That health amount is still very low, as you alluded to, and his current skill set is not able to do final escape without taking some damage in the flames. So he might want to get extra checks in. The one lucky thing for liftoff here is that that bash was right on the double jump tree and charge jump right next to it, so he cannot miss the bash since he needs to go to that tree anyway. So once he is in that position, he will find his progression and his skill too. Let's hope he doesn't skip the charge jump, but I'm confident in that. And Sirius going for a bit of a swim here.
This is an interesting play by Sirius. The sequence of checks while in logic is a little bit on the slow side of things, and it can definitely be a gamble. It tends to either pay off big, or it just sets you back the 40 whatever seconds that it takes to do all of these checks. So we'll see if anything worthwhile comes from this swim. So far, just an ability cell and a keystone, but I do like this play logically. Finding charge, jump, bash, and clean water all puts this into logic for Sirius. So coming here immediately and doing these checks, don't mind that at all. It's entirely possible that something could be hidden here, whether it's Forlorn TP or another skill, and it turns out it's a whole lot of nothing. So he does lose the time, but does do the save scum in order to reset his position quite quickly. He's going to set up for a Hal Stomp here, named after one of the runners that found it, in which you throw a grenade on the ground and then charge jump and then bash off of it immediately. And that will allow you to break some floors, not all of them, but one of them happens to be that log pickup right there. Nice use of that by Sirius. Is going to take this fish for a bit of a ride, and is going to double bash it all the way up to the stump tree.
Yes, very nice. And we also got a nice save scum there, not needing to make the track back up. But as we alluded to, right, Sirius probably wants more health for the final escape, maybe more health for Sorrow Pass. So if he needs to check things in general, he probably kind of took this as a logic raid, saying, okay, this is a area of a lot of checks that just got opened by my recent finds. So I also very much agree with these checks. But for now, getting to the swamp tree, alt-Ring, and let's see if he decides to go for another tree and put Sunstone out for later, or maybe goes for that.
Oh, that's potentially disastrous for Sirius in that he didn't check the grenade lock pickup at the swamp swim. Something is important there. He is definitely not going back for that anytime soon. It's going to continue to chase logic here with clean water and a grenade. Going to see liftoff head down towards the Grotto mini boss. Drain access, by the way, did hold charge flame. We saw Sirius kind of hesitate on whether or not he wanted to keep that, but with this skill set, charge flame can actually be pretty useful in the final escape. So relatively fast for him to be able to get out of there, even though grenade is his blue plant breakage and blue wall breakage. Just decided to maybe keep that for safety. Only a couple pickups left in Grotto that could possibly be the Sunstone. There's two left here. Down below the teleporter, there's this plant heading over towards the swamp area in Grove, Maine. He checks it. It's a keystone. There's also far left Grotto. So the Sunstone eluding the players for the time being, as liftoff is going to climb out of these crushers after the mini-boss and head towards his skill progression. He's going to be getting bash and hopefully charge jump here in relatively short order.
Yes, let's see if Sirius wants to go for current cutscene skip. No, so we're gonna see a bird searching for Ori here, even though we do not have Stomp. That's a random change, so that Stomp isn't a negative when you find it. The cutscenes are always there. But yeah, with this Sirius going into this Grove main area that we already saw earlier, and I'm interested to see whether he wants to do a full clear of the Grove area because it was early in logic, or if he's just gonna head over to the right, get the Swamp TP, and then go to Ginso. And so far, I think it looks like Sirius is heading for the Ginso tree.
Yeah, has plenty of keystones, is not going to get keystone locked heading up to the bash tree, or if you wanted to, all the way up to the top of Ginso. Does take 2 hits off of the rotating spike chains and takes a pretty massive death. That's going to set him off probably close to 45 seconds, maybe a minute if he doesn't get this cutscene skip. Heading back into Grove, Maine. We'll see whether or not he does get it in the meantime. Bash is acquired by
Eyes on
liftoff
the
left
left,
side of the
it's very
screen.
important. Will he check
Yeah.
this pickup or will he skip it? Because if he skips it, alright, goes to the left, very nice. Liftoff is not gonna be in a skill disadvantage here, and with the dev series just took, the race just got a lot closer.
Yeah, so this is skill parity now and dungeon key parity, and I believe even keystone parity. Currently, we know that Sirius had checked some of those Grove main pickups and decided he did not want to go back for any of them. Going to see the same Blades Pool Grenade check here from Liftoff. Sirius does get through the spike corridor there and collects his Swamp TP successfully and is going to be heading up to Ginza now. Charge jumping over top of a little cutscene here undoubtedly. Yep, there he goes. Liftoff looking perhaps a little bit indecisive about where he wants to go, and he quickly made me a fool as he's heading directly towards the Swamp TP and is going to be hot on Sirius's tail. Sirius trying to get game storage here, entering the Ginzo tree so that he could have movement as this little cutscene is playing. Does not opt to try for it again, instead decides to go straight up behind it. We're going to get one extra check here with a series of grenade throws from Liftoff. It's a mapstone. Could be important. We haven't talked yet about how mapstones work in the randomizer here, Zemsis.
Yes, so mapstones in the vanilla game, you can go to a map pedestal, turn in a mapstone, it will just reveal a map of the area around that. Since we expect the render runner to know the map of the game, we instead opted to make each of those mapstone turn-ins a pickup, and it doesn't matter where you put in that mapstone, but just how many mapstones you've turned in total. So it doesn't matter if Sirius is gonna activate the Glades map pedestal, the Grove map pedestal, or even the Horror map pedestal. That's gonna be the first check. But yeah, things can hide on that map pedestal, and if we maybe get a glide or a climb on a high mapstone, that can definitely be a decider in the later stages of the game.
So Liftoff, I don't know. I didn't quite see if he placed a save over at the Ginzo tree, and it looks like he did not. He's going to be taking this upper swamp route. Heading towards the stomp tree, does have a 1 tree deficit currently compared to Sirius. These are checks we did not see on the right-hand side of your screen. So far, just resources have been found here in Ginzo. It'll be interesting to see whether or not Sirius considers this sufficient enough for him to head to left side with a sequence break, or if he's going to continue heading up Banana Stand. We do see a save anywhere, a level up of an ability indicating possibly an Altar. Nope, he's going to do some blind movement. Yeah, he did. He just wanted to check. The one pickup was a keystone, and he's heading out of Ginzo and going to be moving on to his next tree. You see the camera kind of glitching out a little bit there? Fixes it by placing a save. No big deal. Swamp entry here from Liftoff, left side of your screen.
As Liftoff probably forgetting that he actually has card jump. That's a thing that happens to everyone in the heat of a race. But yeah, a trick that actually was found in the randomizer later adapted for the main speedrunning category of this game. With a bit of jumping manipulation, you can take that frog shot and open both ceilings with it. Very nicely done. And with this, Liftoff 2 can now head to Swamp. I think he will skip the Swamp swimming pickup, so there too he can make some time on Sirius.
Yeah, we'll see Liftoff attempting the house stomp there. Doesn't quite get it. Is going to take this fish up to the energy cell up top. Sirius has decided he's going to look to try and clean out Grotto and find that Sunstone. I believe there is still one pickup below him right here that he didn't have access to before because he didn't have Bash or Charge Jump. Is opting to try and take a series of damage boosts here over to check the far left side first, as Liftoff seems to be willing to skip a few checks here as he's coming straight up to the stomp tree. Sirius does get through that damage boost sequence, finds an ability cell for his troubles, and opts to not keep it. We'll see now. This could be important. Sirius did not check the grenade lock pickup here at Swamp. Could be something valuable, as the Sunstone found on the right side of your screen in lower left grotto by Sirius.
Yeah, it's very nice, Sirius. Bit of a breather now, has all the dungeon keys. Just need to get the trees and the skill set and resource set to be comfortable with the escape. Now that Grove TP from earlier coming into play, allowing Sirius to skip a bit of backtrack as he teleports over. will not trigger the cutscene as he is facing right while doing the teleport, even though he did not skip the cutscene earlier. And with this, we are going to the valley entry area, and we will need to take the Frankie right there to help us open the path to the left side. And there's a level up, and the Frankie dies. Let's see if Sirius will backload that or come back later. Finds Glide on top of the tree. Liftoff skipping that check earlier because it takes a lot of time with just water. And with this, Sirius decides to not continue into left side for the time being. Instead, going back and teleporting to Blackroot Burrows, doing the other Frankie Lou instead.
Yeah, he's got one more tree that he needs to access, and Lord Blackroot wants to get that out of the way now. Liftoff was just moments away from getting Charge Flame, which could be very big for the final escape. As Sirius is going to begin the Frankie lure. We know where the Sunstone is. Liftoff is currently digging for that now as well. The reverse walk over these crushers, very precise and feels very different from the crusher walk that we saw over near the dash tree. Has to be careful about managing his distance from this Frankie to make sure he gets short hops near the spikes so that the Frankie does not kill itself again. This Frankie does not respawn, so Sirius would have to reload the game in order to get another attempt at it. But the Frankie is through the spikes just fine. Our Frankie friend stomps the floor. Sirius places a save and drops down immediately. Gonna just kind of sit in these lasers because, as it turns out, you can do that. And float over to the right here to check a few more pickups, at least one. Very fast pickup, that one. It turns out to be just a keystone. Liftoff is going to acquire his Sunstone momentarily. And still a tree behind, about to be 2 trees behind Sirius, as Liftoff has yet to go to Ginzo as well.
Yeah, and Sirius getting a nice zombie here by saving the game after he dies. He respawns on 0 health, and that means as long as he doesn't take damage again, he gets to live again. Continuing heavily into the purple tree, just 2 ability cells off now until he gets to his sense and will then be able to skip or rather check areas way more efficiently. But for now, we are going to the grenade tree 3-7, and by now I believe the valley entry Frankie should have respawned, so I assume Sirius is just gonna head right back there.
Yeah, that was kind of one of those unfortunate things where you just get a level up off of the experience from the plant, kills the Frankie, and then he ended up finding Glide, so it's not like you wanted to save scum that pickup and then reload to respawn the Frankie faster. So a nice little heads up play there from Sirius to not waste any time in terms of the reload and then the Frankie respawn, having to collect Glide again, just utilizing that time for the Frankie to respawn to go and get another tree out of the way. In the meantime, Liftoff is entering the Ginzo tree, probably going to be collecting a whole bunch of pickups on the way through here as well, and we're going to see a Frankie lure from Sirius on the right side to gain access to Valley. Still, again, want to mention Liftoff does not have Charge Flame. That could prove critical.
Yes, also Sirius getting the Frankie lure very nicely. You need logically Stomp to get this pack open in standard. However, a Frankie can always replace a Stomp if you can get him to where you need to, so he uses those double bashes, which are free in the randomizer, to carry the Frankie with him, getting easily access to the left side of the map, and will now head there, probably going to go get his feather, and let's see how many checks he will do on the way to that. He probably wants some extra ability cells so he can skill that sense and also use that to break a ceiling later in Sorrow, so I would assume he's gonna do a few more checks on the way.
Liftoff's kind of in an awkward position here. Zemsys getting word that Liftoff found the Sorrow TP over in the Spider Lake area. He doesn't really have an incentive to go back to Valley Entry like Sirius did, which is where Glide is. And trying to do Sorrow without Glide, even though he's going to be able to come from the top, he doesn't have Stomp, he doesn't have Climb. It's going to make his progression through Sorrow and access to the Sorrow main area significantly more difficult than we're going to see on Sirius's side. Went for the fast stompless technique, Sirius did, in which he sends a projectile and then deloads some rocks that would otherwise block it, hitting Kuro's, the rocks above Kuro's head, breaking them apart and gaining access here to Valley proper. We'll have to see whether Liftoff here, in a bit of a skill deficit, going to be missing both Glide and Charge Flame presumably, decides to head up and see if there's anything further in the Ginzo tree. We'll find out momentarily. Does he check this pickup and go up, or just the one and out? It's a keystone, and he's going to continue up. We're going to get some new checks here from both of our runners as Sirius is heading into Misty Woods.
Yes, and this area in Ginzo, right after the badge tree, very commonly has items and is definitely also pretty fast to check, especially with this skill set. There are 3 pickups on the way and then 4 back to back to back to back, a bit further up in the Ginzo tree. Always a good place to check for things if you're still looking for a skill or something else. I'm very interested to see if there's something here, and if there's nothing in here, if Liftoff just decides he's gonna go take that Sorrow TP and get a bunch of time, because the Sorrow TP saves a lot of flying upwards there, even with this skill set. But yeah, Warmth returned on the right for Sirius. While red, it does absolutely nothing except trigger Sense and kind of bait you into getting an extra check. Speaking of Sense, Sirius killed Sense on his way to Misty, so wanna talk a bit about how that exactly works?
Yeah, so Sense replaces the way it works in the vanilla game is that it just lets you see secrets basically behind transparent walls, and we decided that is not fun, so we gave you a hot-cold indicator pretty much. In which Ori will change color the closer that you get to pickups. You see Sirius's base color here is a light blue and then turns red and finds Dash for his troubles in Misty. The Sense play coming up big right now for Sirius. He's got speed and everything that he needs really to finish this final escape. Now that Dash, an absolutely gargantuan pickup for him. He is in a sterling position at this point in time as Liftoff is skill hungry and is actually going to put this mapstone into this altar in Glade, still looking for something a little bit extra to be able to make his life a bit easier. This could be big for him, though, if he backs up and heads into Valley Entry to get that experience check that we know is Glide. He's heading that way. This could put him, once again, on the hot on the heels of Sirius. If he continues on his way up, he's going to find his go mode. Perhaps no. He's backing up. This is a rough position for Liftoff. Meanwhile, Sirius is laughing on the way to the bank and his 9th of 10 trees.
Yes, but remember, Sirius invested very heavily into the purple tree, and the side effect of that is he does not have any ability points to spare for charge dash, so we won't get dash at its maximum power. Sirius could be dashing at about double the speed he is right now, but still, having dash versus having no dash is obviously a very big speed advantage, and Liftoff, sadly, by missing that glide, still on 5 HP, which is not enough to survive the Sorrow Spikes. He would need to damage boost off to break into the charge jump tree from above. Is gonna continue to put in map stones and look for some progression.
Yeah, he's kind of trailing behind Sirius in terms of decision making here. Opting to do the same thing, just a little bit of a different way. Going to take this Frankie up over the top instead of below through the crushers. To gain access to the grenade tree. I believe there is a health cell near the grenade tree for him that'll give him a 6, which should make things just a little bit more comfortable for him. But yeah, again, he's missing some of the real key important skills here that would make his life significantly easier trying to get through Sorrow. As we see Sirius, right side of your screen now, setting up for Sorrow Bash, technically using all skills, where we take this bird, and if you're on keyboard and mouse, you will double bash it 100%, and gain access to Sorrow Pass without having gone to Forlorn to restore the element of wind. Picks up Spirit Light efficiency, which is kind of nice. He's going to have now Quad XP, I believe, from all pickups, and is going to float up here. Still does not have rocket jumps, however. Might actually dig for a few ability points to try and get it. Does have Air Dash, still needs 2 more points. Yep. He's going to go for the Terror Break. Okay, so this is one of the other instances of Save Anywhere that we were talking about. Find Stomp at the top as well.
Wow, so really all the decisions Sirius made just paying off for him. Getting that Spirit Light efficiency might even get him charge dash before he reaches Haru, which would speed up the last stretch of the game a lot for him. Meanwhile, Liftoff, I'm not sure if he took a death or if the Frankie died, but had to load back to his save there, so they are bleeding a bit more of time. Really an unfortunate miss on that glide earlier, coming back at this point.
Yeah, that's going to cause him to run around the world and do some extra checks, that's for sure. Wouldn't be surprised to see him place a save here and drop down to do a few more checks in lower black group. Opts not to, which we know is the objectively correct play in this particular seed. With what we know from the skill location, Sirius, in the meantime, has finished all 10 of his trees and is going to be warping to Mount Horror. Now, the zombie Ori here from Liftoff, he is going to be pushing for sense as well. Has 6 more ability points. He's going to save 3 of them to skill sense as he goes to skip the cutscene here, heading towards the light grenade tree. Setting up for a couple grenade throws and bashes, does not get the height that he needs off of the first one. He is instead just going to charge jump his way through this spinning laser. Very nicely done. That looked honestly a lot easier than it actually is. Liftoff just absolutely nailing his charge jump timing there. Sirius, right side, has Stomp able to break this wall from the right side without having to use the Baneling. And, ooh, kind of fumbled a little bit on his bash. Dashing into the elemental, does avoid, however, falling into the lava and taking an instantaneous death, and continues on his way to horror. We're also going to see this grenade lock door checked from Liftoff.
Yeah, Liftoff having his sense now, so he does know if it's an important pickup, like a skill, a left side teleporter, or a word event like Wind Restored, he is gonna turn red as he gets near that, but for now he will be heading to his grenade tree, getting his 7th tree in just a bit, as Sirius nails the door warp on the right, entering the door on the first possible moment after reloading, skipping the entirety of Mount Horus, ending right at the end of the dungeon, and will now start the final escape, which is all that's left between him into victory in this raid.
Liftoff does have 3 trees left to collect. Want to let you know that we do have 19 total entrants in this race, and as of yet, nobody has finished. So Sirius, in the final stretch here, might be able to claim first and gain himself some extra points to potentially bop the likes of Covert Muffin and Cleanfell in the standings. Could very well come down to execution in the final escape. Don't know where the runners are other than the 2 that we have here on screen. Liftoff is teleporting back to the swamp teleport, is still going to be looking for a few pickups, maybe even going to the Mount Horu to see if you can find a few skills left there. But Clean Water making this final section rather easy for Sirius, charge jumping over the Kuro trigger, allowing him to quite freely navigate this area, and bash over top of the cutscene. And he's got 1 minute and 20 seconds of holding right, and that is GG for Sirius.
It's very nicely played for Sirius, never stopping on the way. The things kind of falling into his way on the time. Some other people also finishing in the meantime, but yeah, Sirius the winner of our race here, and Liftoff now is heading to the left. Might just check the grenade pickup he opened earlier, but if we're lucky, Liftoff will continue to the left side and finally find his glide there.
Yeah, at the very least, I think that's going to make things more comfortable for Liftoff. He's got this pickup and then the remainder of Valley entry. We'll see whether or not he continues. Looks like he is. Okay, so he should find Glide here and be in a significantly more comfortable position. He'll be able to perform the same Valley access that we saw from Sirius with the Frankie Lure and Frankie Bash. We do have 2 finishers just ahead of Sirius. We have Banished Cloud at a 41.34 and Covert Muffin finishing with a 41.59. Muffin currently ranked 3 overall in the preliminary standings. So he's going to secure possibly a recovery of 2nd place over top of Cleanfell, maybe Sirius in the meantime. Also right in behind, there was 4th entering the preliminary standings coming into this race. So probably not going to see a whole lot of movement here in the top few based on these finishes from these runners, except Banish probably going to climb a little bit. He's got 9th place currently with Halcyon, Camilios, Dedu, and myself all in front of him trying to vie for a bye in the first round of brackets.
Yes, very nicely done. Sirius having his official race time of 42.56 here, getting a nice 3rd place finish on the left side. Liftoff now has opened this swim called Rally Long Swim, and that makes the Frankie lure a bit harder since the Frankie will instantly die, even though he is an amphibian when he falls into water. But yeah, it takes the Frankie over and can now do the same same usage of Frankie to stomp the pack and access the left side of the map as Sirius gets that done, and will now probably head over to clean up his trees. And since he has all the dungeon keys and has sense, he will just need to check maybe 1 or 2 pickups and will probably get his dash on the way. So that's gonna be a nice finish here in a while.
Yeah. If he goes and does Misty first, he's going to get his dash in short order. He will get baited by the Warmth Return pickup underneath the Misty log, but otherwise he should find dash quite comfortably on his way. In the meantime, we are joined by siriusashling, finishing here in 3rd place. GG, sir, 42-57. How do you feel about the seed and kind of how it made you run around a little bit in the early going, but then all of a sudden you get bash and charge jump and you're kind of thinking to yourself, how aggressive do I play this now? What was your thought process?
Yeah, thank you for the GGs. It was overall a seed that I would call smooth. Most things lined up. You do your sequence breaks, they end up paying off. Nothing gets in your way too much. At the same time, there weren't too many speed skills. As you say, there were powerful skills. There was charge jump, there was bash, but the dash find was very late. I didn't find climb for grenade jumps. So yeah, overall I was still searching for a while in hope of finding something faster. So while I was loosely aware I could play aggressively now, try to finish immediately, I did hope to find, I don't know, dash earlier or grenade jumps. It didn't really work out that way, but still just went really nicely overall.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of your routing, when were you thinking, what made you finally take that push for the left side and go for finishing out the seed? What very moment did you decide, all right, I'm just gonna finish it out now without continuing checking?
I'd honestly say that was a very in hope of finding something good randomly. And then there was a point where I just said, I don't know, is there even anything fast left to check? I don't want to dig too much. I can probably finish. Let's try this.
I do want to ask, you headed over to far left Gumo hideout when you were looking for the Sunstone. You did not have, at that juncture, logical skills to check it. Had to do a couple damage boosts to get there. Was that just sort of one of those things that you were thinking you were here, you wanted to get the satellite pickup out of the way now?
Yeah, definitely. I didn't actually think about whether it was in logic. You're completely right, it wasn't. Just, you know, if Sunstone is somewhere down there, it could be early in logic, it could be late in logic. I definitely don't want to leave it behind, so better check that pickup.
And of course, having found where the glide location was at Valley Entry, which was open to the both of you fairly early on, it would have been, had you known about glide, a logical pickup for you to make. So you are currently sitting right now in 4th place. Muffin and did get the finish ahead of you, but Clean did finish behind you. Might shuffle the standings a little bit. How do you feel about heading into the weekend here with 4th? Do you want to try and push up the standings a little bit more, or are you pretty comfortable with your position now?
Really, I don't look too much at the stat to race just because I enjoy it. I wouldn't even have known I'm in 4th place in the standing. That's not my motivation here.
Alright, fair enough. And we are getting word from Oshi, who has done the math for us, that you actually do bop Muffin by the slimmest of margins, by 0.014. You now have possession of 3rd place. So GG on that, sir.
Muffin is really good though. He'll get it back, probably.
In the meantime, we do have liftoff. If you want to stick and hang around, Sirius, and join us in on commentary, feel free. If you want to take off, go ahead. We do have liftoff. He does have Stomp. He has collected the charge jump tree and is heading on his way to Misty. Does have Sense. Will have the opportunity to go ahead and collect Dash on the way as well. Just has that one tree left. Did not pick up Charge Flame over near Drain Access like you did, Sirius. So he's definitely kind of in a little bit of a panic mode, maybe about his ability to finish the final escape for the time being.
Yeah, but also he actually does have 2 trees left because he opted to go into Sorrow before breaking the rocks. kinda get those, or get up to Sorrow, get back down from Sorrow, and then clear the climb tree in one motion. Gets his Rockstar now, and I'm very interested to see if Liftoff decides to follow his 2 senses, or if he at this point says, alright, I can finish out the seed with what I have.
Mhm. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether or not he decides to check the 2 pickups that are going to trigger sense for him en route into Misty. May decide to pick up this Valley Teleport, which is his backup if he doesn't feel confident. And yeah, that's exactly what he's going to do. Does get the level up and places a save just to make sure he's got that all nice and comfortable. Sequence of bash nades up here to get some extra height as well. We haven't talked about bash glides or dash glides yet, but if you are holding 0 input directions on your way after starting a bash glide, you will actually go faster than if you're holding direction. So just a little bit of a speed tech there for you. It does get baited by the warmth return. Did not have to spend a whole lot of time on the frog lure there, though. Did go to Sorrow first and acquire Stomp. Kind of makes me wonder where Climb could be, because I'm kind of thinking at this point, Zem, that the logic was Sorrow TP access with Climb charge jump.
That could definitely be the case. I am actually not quite sure how the logic works for the left route from the Sorrow Teleporter through the charge jump tree without having climb, if that is a thing in standard or not. But yeah, it is definitely interesting where that climb is. Could even be in Horror, honestly, since we did see both charge jump, bash, and glide all at the start. And yeah, Liftoff checking his pickups, has a dash. Now I think he's gonna be comfortable closing this out, and has enough ability points to get his charge dash too.
Well, that is one of the things about getting Bash Nade, is that it basically puts not only the entire seed in logic, but also puts Hollow Knight in logic, just because it's just so versatile. Climb actually... Oh, wow, this is interesting. I was just looking at the spoiler here. Climb is the ability cell above the charge jump tree.
Really?
That is interesting. Alright, so it was right there. If Liftoff had taken the Sorrow Teleporter earlier, he would have had found Climb on the way to a charge jump tree, but that's just how Randomizer is sometimes. With this, Liftoff circling his 5 HP, that's still a very low amount, since I believe, yeah, there might be an accidental damage boost in the Elemental Room, in particular in Horror, with this particular skill set, not having any way to really regain height in the mid-air, so no double jump, no climb charge jump to not even get on fire level. So let's see how he pulls that off. But yes, with this, Liftoff can now just head straight to Horror and finish out the seed.
Yeah, with clean water, this isn't too bad. Valley Teleporter was the intended progression. I just kind of dug around a little bit in the seed here. It is in R4 behind the vertical laser and the tumbleweed rock bash puzzle thing. So you were intended to get the Sunstone, and with Bash, Nade, and Glide, come over to Horu and get that for your left side access. And Wind Restored also on a Mapstone. I don't have the Mapstone number for that one offhand. But, yeah.
It was in fact a horror seed. But speaking of horror, Liftoff right here. Let's see if he decides to go for Violence or for Door Warp. Both are very valid options in the randomizer since the lava stats drain. But Liftoff going for his Door Warp needs to press up on the first possible moment. Sadly does not get it on the first attempt. If you do not get it, reasons so let's see if he manages to get it, or if he goes for Violence in the end.
Yeah, I've got over 1,800 hours in this game, plenty of that being randomizer, and I only just recently learned that in the rando, placing a soul link there at the beginning if you don't get Door Warp on the first try actually increases the consistency of it again. There's just so many little small things in this randomizer that you can pick up on over a period of time, new tech that's being discovered. We have a bit of tech that's actually banned for this tournament called pause floating, which was just discovered in recent months as well. So this game, despite coming up on 5 years old, 4 years for definitive edition, still some new things being discovered, particularly in the randomizer. We're going to see Liftoff starting his final escape at 53. 50 thereabouts, and we'll see how he does. He's got charge dash to be able to break the floors as necessary. It shouldn't be too terribly difficult for him, except for perhaps the elemental room to try to gain a little bit of, as you alluded to, some of that air stall before he ends up falling into the fire and taking damage. Does have Stomp, he's going to break this floor here, charge dash in and float, does take a hit. That's okay, the water's clean. It is 4 damage there, and plus he has a little bit of health regen for an extra bit of buffer. He does take a hit off the fish, stomping into the water, getting his first fish now, second fish, taking it up for a ride, wants to do some fish stress. Saba pings in chat if you don't mind. Rocket jumps off the fish and charge dashes into the cutscene while he has to hold on for another minute and 20 seconds. That is GG for liftoff. Currently, the best that he can finish in this preliminary is going to be about 11th place. We do have some other finishers that have come in since Sirius crossed the line. We have Infinite finishing with a 44.07. Clean Fell coming in 50 seconds after that. Gramelios with a 49.32. Good for 6th place. Fluffy Prower has a 50-minute flat. That's good for 7th. Henri, 53.13 for 8th. Matter Monkey, 53.47 for 9th. Spec 98 has 10th place with a 54.33. And Turtle Run just finished with a 55.25. Liftoff is now crossing the line very shortly in about another 30 seconds or so. Looks like he's going to have 12th place wrapped up here.
Yeah, so let's see if we get some narrow optimization or if he just holds right at this point. But with this seed is done. Just needs to walk Naru behind the tree, and then we will get an official time for liftoff as well.
Yep, and we'll see whether or not he wants to pop in. We know that he hasn't been terribly satisfied with his performances here so far in the preliminary, and sometimes you're just not feeling it to come in for an interview. That's fine. Looks like he is on deck. We'll bring him on in here and have a quick chat with Liftoff. So Liftoff, that was a little bit of a tough seed for you.
Where was everything? What did I miss?
Yeah, so the intended progression was for you to go into Horu with your Bashnade Glide and get the Valley Teleporter from R4, and then use Wilhelm from there to break off the rocks. And then Wind Restored was on a Mapstone, and that was supposed to get you into Sorrow Pass.
Wow. Okay. That wasn't a great seed, but GG Sirius.
GG's to you too, thank you.
So, Liftoff, you had a bit of a decision there to make early on with Valley entry and whether or not to check that XP that was up above. What was?
Yeah, I mean,
it came back to bite you. I mean, it's a slow check to make, but you did end up getting it in the end. Is that a pickup you normally check or normally skip?
I don't usually check it unless I have something to get up there quick. I mean, yeah, in this case it came back to bite me, but I feel like statistically it's not the right play to spend so much time on a single check in the early game.
Mm-hmm.
Just sometimes the rando is gonna rando.
Yeah, statistic. Sometimes rando is gonna rando. Said that perfectly. I got another question. Kinda also tying back into that pickup. What were you kinda looking for in the mid game, and what made you finally decide to go left side and just start pushing trees and stopping to search for another skill?
So in the mid game I knew that I didn't have the skills to do the escape because I couldn't break the floors in there. So I knew that I still needed something, and that it would, and I knew that I had Sorrow TP, and if I had had more health, then I would have probably gone there and checked from the top. But I was so low on health for the entire seed that I just knew if I went there, it would have. I think all the spikes would have one-shot me or come close to it, and I would have had to do like damage boosts with charge jump to get down to charge jump tree, and that just seemed like a good way to waste a lot of time that I could spend searching for skills that were probably on the right side somewhere. It turns out they weren't. Maybe in Swamp Swim, But at
Yeah,
some point, I was just like, okay, I guess I didn't want to do this because I have Sora TP and it feels weird having Sora TP and still coming from the bottom. But at some point, I was just okay. I've searched every dense check and I could do stuff like laser, but at this point, it's just not worth it.
Yeah, there was Charge Flame at the Drain Access XP. That was about the only
Makes
thing I
sense.
think that you missed on the right side.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so a little bit rough, obviously, but you do have 7 more preliminaries to be able to try and improve your standings. Are you going to be continuing to race for practice, or are you racing for seeding?
Well, I'd like to get my seeding above 4.0. That's like my personal goal. I went in with higher personal goals, but they already didn't pan out. So that's like my revised goal. So that would be cool. I just need to do like well in one race, and then I think I'm there. And other than that, I think it's just practice. As the seed today showed, I think I still need practice. It's been kind of rough the last prelims for me. I do practice seeds between them where I get decent times, and then the prelims themselves just don't work out. But I'm sure it'll turn in my favor again sometime soon. Hopefully it'll do so by the time the bracket starts.
Mm-hmm. Zemsis, do you have anything else you want to chip in with?
I think you already touched on everything I wanted to ask. So unless you have another question for Liftoff here?
No, I'm good. Want to remind you that we do have another preliminary match tomorrow, Friday, July 30th at 9 o'clock Eastern. Going to be J-Mall versus Trojan Dude, commentated by the one and only Clean Fell and the superlative and singular Grimilios. Going to be bringing you that broadcast. Also, I do need to apologize for automatically converting time zones in my head. Need to touch on the preliminary schedule for the weekend. Got an update from Aiko. That it is 11, 2, and 6 o'clock Eastern is what we're looking at for Saturday and Sunday. So with that, we're going to sign off, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Zemsis, thank you very much for joining me on comms. My name is Shafe, and we'll see you again soon for some more Ori Rando tournament action.